Hello everybody. Today we're going to solve two-step inequalities. So remember that solving inequalities is just like solving equations, but there are two major differences or two major additional things you have to remember. So the first thing about solving inequalities is usually you have to graph your answer on a number line, okay? Because we want to show the viewer the entire solution set because usually for an inequality, there is a wide range of solutions, not just one single solution, as is usually the case with a linear equation. And the second thing you have to remember is that if you multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by a negative number, so it's only a negative number, if you multiply or divide both sides by it, you must flip your inequality sign when you're solving it. The reason why you have to flip your inequality sign is because you're actually changing the meaning of the inequality when you do that. Okay, and that is shown in the solving one-step inequalities using multiplication and division. All right. Also, what might be helpful for you is if you're having trouble solving these two-step inequalities, then take a look at the other video solving two-step equations. Okay. So we'll start off easy. 3x minus 6 is less than or equal to 9. So draw a line through the inequality symbol because that separates our two sides. We have to isolate the term with the variable. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. Okay, so on the left-hand side, the 6's cancel. We're left with 3x. 9 plus 6 equals 15. And, excuse me, is less than or equal to 15. Keep your inequality sign. But yes, inequalities are, in terms of solving them, are just like equations besides those two things we talked about at the beginning. The last step is to divide both sides by 3. Since we're dividing by a positive 3, the inequality sign is going to stay the same. So x is less than or equal to 5. So put a couple numbers on our number line. We're going to have a closed circle on 5. Less than or equal to or greater than or equal to is a closed circle. Okay? These two symbols is a closed circle. And we want numbers less than 5. X is less than 5, so we shade to the left. So any number less than 5 and including 5 is a solution to this inequality. Okay, so now let's look at this one. We have negative 6x plus 3 is greater than negative 15. So we'll draw a line with the inequality sign. All that does is separate our two sides. Because while solving it, we do have to keep it balanced, just like an equation. So we have to isolate the term with the variable. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 3 from both sides. So we have negative 6x is greater than negative 18. The last step here is divide both sides by negative 6. Now when we do that, we get x. On the right-hand side, we get positive 3, but our inequality sign has to flip because we divided by a negative number. And it only flips because we're dividing both sides by negative 6. It has nothing to do with this negative 18 right here. When you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, that's when you flip your inequality sign. So that's why it's so helpful to write out this last step. Sometimes I see students skip steps, and then when they get answers wrong, I hate that because I know they could have got the right answer if they showed their work. So make sure you show your work, and it's easier to see when you need to flip your sign or not. So we have this time an open circle on 3. Make sure you put at least 5 numbers on your number line so you show the viewer you understand the solution set. It's going to be an open circle on 3 this time. Remember, greater than or less than is an open circle. And again, no, x is less than 3, so we're going to shade to the left. Okay? So here's an inequality. I'd like you to solve this one on your own, though. So go ahead and copy the problem down. And the next 15 seconds will be blank. Okay, so hopefully you solved that one on your own. Hopefully you took advantage of that. Anytime I ask you to do a problem, definitely pause the video and do it on your own. That's where the best learning happens in terms of these video lessons, okay, by doing the problem on your own. So we'll draw a line through the inequality sign. We have to isolate the positive 3x. That's the term that has our variable. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. So on the left-hand side, we get negative 12. Subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, is less than or equal to positive 3x. To isolate x, get it by itself, we divide both sides by 3. So when we do that, we get negative 4. Now here's a question. Do we flip our sign? Ask yourself that question. The answer is no. We divided both sides by a positive 3, right? It's only if we multiply or divide by a negative 3. It has nothing to do with the sign of our answer or this negative 12. It has to do with the number we're dividing both sides by. If that number is negative, that's when we flip our sign. But we're dividing by a positive 3, so the inequality sign stays the same. So negative 4 is less than or equal to x. I do recommend for most students to rewrite this of the variables first. So when you rewrite it, if you look at it right now, x is bigger, right? So therefore, when you rewrite it, just make sure you still show that x is bigger. It's usually easiest for most students to graph an inequality correctly when x is first. So this says x is greater than or equal to negative 4. So make our number line, put at least 5 numbers on it. And we have a closed circle at negative 4. And since x is greater than or equal to negative 4, we're going to shade to the right. Okay? Here we have x divided by 3 minus 5 is greater than negative 6. So just like before, we have to isolate the term with our variable. Draw our line to separate our two sides. Add 5 to both sides. X over 3 is greater than negative 1. And last step here, since x is being divided by 3, is we multiply both sides by 3. Do the inverse operation. So we get x is greater than or equal to negative 3. We don't have to flip the sign because the number we're multiplying both sides by is positive, right? So make our number line, a couple numbers, at least 5. But I will put a open circle on negative 3 and shade to the right. Okay? By the way, putting 5 numbers on your number line is not a rule for all of mathematics. That's actually my rule. And normally I say that things aren't my rules, but this one is my rule because I want students to understand the solution set. And sometimes I'll see students make a number line and they'll throw one number on there and shade. And then also sometimes, unfortunately, mistakes I'll see students make is their number lines will increase from left to right, which is a big no-no. Your number lines have to go up or increase from left to right. So I do ask that you put 5 numbers on your number line, okay, before you graph it. All right, and this counts as 5 numbers because you have the marks between each value. So here we have 3 minus x over 2 is less than or equal to negative 7. So we have to isolate the fraction. It's actually a negative x over 2. So remember, we have x over 2, but the sign of it is found to the left of it. So we draw the line through the inequality sign, and we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we have negative x over 2 is less than or equal to, this is negative 10. Now, when a fraction's negative, you could put that negative with either the numerator or denominator. This is definitely something I want you to get. I want you to get good at working with fractions. So I'll say that one more time. If a fraction is negative, you put that negative with the numerator or the denominator. So I could put this negative sign with x if I wanted to, make it negative x, or I could put it down here with negative 2. Okay? Now I'm going to put it down with the negative 2 because here's why. If I put it with the 2 and make it negative, I should say, now to solve this, I'll just multiply both sides by negative 2. And the x will be positive. So these cancel, I get x. And now I do have to flip the sign because we multiplied both sides by negative 2. And over here with our math, we get positive 20. So x is greater than or equal to positive 20. Now for your number line, it would be a little tedious to make 20 marks. So watch this. This is also why I say put 5 numbers. Because you could put 20 in the middle, right? And just put a couple numbers to the right and left of it. You don't have to write all those numbers. And that definitely shows the viewer and me that you know what solution set you're shading. So I put a closed circle on 20. And since x is greater than or equal to 20, shade to the right. So a lot that was happening there, a lot of little details that are important. For one, for fractions negative, you could put that negative sign with the numerator or denominator because if we put it with both, let's say, that'd actually be positive, would no longer be negative, right? The second thing is if you have a very large numerical answer or a very small numerical answer, so for example like negative 43 or negative 120, something like that, you don't have to put 120 marks. You could just put like the actual value involved in your solution in the middle of your number line, and then just put 2 numbers to the right of it that are larger and put numbers to the left of it that are smaller, and that makes your life a lot easier for making your number line, and you're definitely showing the viewer you know what solution set you're shading. All right, last one. All right, so if you have a problem where the entire left-hand side is a fraction, you have to get rid of that fraction first, okay? Or right-hand side. So if one side of the problem, the entire side is a fraction, you want to get rid of that fraction first. So we would actually multiply both sides by -3 here first. And when we do that, we will flip the sign on that step because we are multiplied both sides by -3. We do our math over here, we get +6. So a lot of little details there, but now it becomes very easy, right? Add 5. X is less than +11. All right? Not too bad, right? And now you just got to graph your answer. So because we have +11, pretty large, so just put two numbers to the right that are larger and two numbers to the left that are smaller to make our lives a little bit easier. Put an open circle on 11, and since x is less than 11, we shade to the left. Okay? So any number less than 11 is a solution to this inequality. All right? So hopefully you found this video lesson helpful. It should have been a review kind of solving two-step equations with flipping your sign when you multiply or divide by a negative, and also some details with graphing. But thank you very much for your attention. Hopefully you found this video lesson helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Have a fantastic day, everybody.